guys, I think we are live. Let's see. As we get all of the behind the scenes mechanics going. All right, guys, I think we are live. Let's see. Okay. As we get all of the behind the scenes mechanics going. All right, guys, I think we are live. Let's see. Okay. As we get all of the behind the scenes mechanics going. All right, guys, I think we are live. Let's see. What is that echo? What is the echo? All right. All right. Hey, so for everybody out there watching, I'm Angela K. Austin, and thank you guys for being patient. We are a little late, but we are here. Everybody out there watching, I'm Angela K. Austin, and thank you. All right. So before we get started in this, I want to make sure that you guys know who we are, what we are doing, and why. And we do have one of our fearless leaders here. We have Madam Dariel Raye. Wave at everybody, Dariel, so they know who you are. All you guys wave. I saw you waving, Lee. Everybody wave. Everybody wave. All right. So Dariel, before we get started, let's tell everybody a little bit about Soul Deep. And then when Stephany joins us, we can get her to jump in and tell us a little bit as well. But tell us a little bit about Soul Deep. And then I want to make sure that everybody knows who all these fabulous authors are who are going to be joining us and who will be a part of this anthology. So tell us a little something.
Okay. Soul Deep was actually Stephany's idea. And we didn't have a title yet, so I came up with the title. But as soon as we were actually on the phone talking about something else. And it was right at the beginning of a lot of this drama that's going on right now. Things were so different in 2020. And we were basically talking about how hard it is to focus on writing fiction when we're dealing with so many things that are serious in our own lives and all around us. So basically it is the anthology is about our experiences, our perspectives, and our beliefs about racism. Each one will be very unique, I'm sure, because we've had different experiences, but the goal is to show a different side of ourselves and to help people to understand that these are real people talking about real experiences and that systemic racism is a reality. And all of us have experienced it. So that's the gist of it.
Yeah, and when you reached out to me and told me about it, I was super excited to be a part of it, just because of the fact of, like you said, so much is happening in the world around us today. And me personally, and I've shared this with Lee, a lot, I hit writer's block. And then, you're like stuck and, you can't like write through, you can't get to the next thing. So when you shared this opportunity with me, I really, wanted to be a part of it and just offer a voice. And I have not published anything that was nonfiction. So, I write about vampires and werewolves and stuff. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? Let's get into this nonfiction game. Exactly. I'm ready.
Exactly.
Stephany, you're there with us too.
Can
Oh,
you hear
sorry,
me?
Derek.
Can,
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes,
So
we can hear
okay.
you now.
yeah, I want to make sure
Can
you give us your perspective as well about why you wanted to start this with Derek.
okay. I'm sorry for my rocky start, and I called myself getting prepared earlier, but I guess I wasn't prepared. So I apologize for that.
No
Um,
problem.
it sounds like you were just wrapping up or maybe even beginning the discussions about the rationale for the anthology. Um, Basically, for me, it sounds like you and Dariel have touched on it pretty much that I think a really important point is that we do come from different experiences, and that is what I think will be so meaningful, because even though there are bits and pieces other than being African American or some part thereof, as I'm discovering, for me, that's going to be a real issue, my mixed ancestry and the impact of that on me as I've experienced it, and even rethinking and re-examining that now. Um, so I just felt that it was important that this was a period where we need to speak up. And, I still think we will have some powerful things to say. And I like to think big. I think Dariel, I don't know, I know Dariel, I know Traci. But from what I've seen and heard about some of you from Dariel, obviously you're all big thinkers too. So I feel the sky is the limit. I would like for us to be as open as we can be. I've done a little more research on people writing memoirs and nonfiction and what that means to your family, and how truthful can you really be. And I don't know if Dariel's talked about the fact that I'm thinking of writing under establishing a new pen name, but I still go back and forth. As she knows, every other few days I said, well, maybe I won't, maybe I will. So I'm still thinking about that. And I mentioned the project. I'm not going to take all your time, but I mentioned the project this afternoon to one of my sisters, and she says, "You're going to write what? What are you going to say? What are you going to tell?" And I said, "Don't worry about it." But anyway, I'm just glad you're all here, and I'm excited about working with you.
Thank you for sharing that. And like I said, I'm excited to work with all of you guys as well. But now let's tell people a little bit about the authors who are here.
Okay.
So, Dariel, you invited me to this project. So I'm going to start with you. And then I'd like to go back to Stephany. And then we'll just do a little round robin and I'll call off everyone's name. And if you guys could just tell people a little bit about who you are as a writer. And if this is your, first piece that you'll publish, or if this is your 200th piece, So, and I know Dariel, what is this, like your 1000th piece? You know what I mean? That's like, so let's start with Dariel. Tell us who you are and how long have you been writing? What are you writing?
Okay, first I want to add that when I was sending out the invitations, I was thinking about people who are, as Stephany said, big thinkers and good writers, of course, and people that I'd worked with before, that I thought would make a good team and would have some good information to share. So I'm very grateful for everybody, agreeing to join us and sharing your ideas and your expertise. And I'm really excited about the project. I write paranormal romance, urban fantasy, and I have some psychological suspense stories coming out. And I'll have a new pen name. Speaking of pen names, I'll have a new one for that. This will be my first nonfiction publication as well. And I too am going to have another pen name. So that'll be 3. And I think that's the maximum for Amazon. Why I want to do that, I'm not really sure. But I like the idea of differentiating between the different genres. Because I found as I get older, my interests are changing somewhat. And although I always love paranormal and urban fantasy, I find myself watching more and reading more psychological thrillers and psychological suspense. So my background is in counseling psychology, so of course I'm really into things that are unusual and beyond the norms. I started writing really a long time ago, but I stopped for a period of time. And right now, I don't have as many books as I should at this point, probably because of other things going on in my life. But I'm working on it. So that's me.
All right. I don't actually know if is there a max on pen names? Lee, do you know? Because I swear, I think I know people who write under 1 million pen
I
names.
thought it was 3.
No, you can have a ton. I think it's probably recommended
Oh, really?
that you have no more than 3 to 4 just to keep track of them all. But if you want 10, I say go for it.
Yeah, I think people.
I didn't know that. I thought you could only have 3 different author central pages on Amazon. So don't give me any ideas. I'm gonna try to stop at 3.
Don't let us steer you wrong now. We could be wrong. I have one.
I know authors who have a whole bunch.
I better stop
We're
at
not going
3.
to get into how you work the system on this call.
Yeah,
That's a different conversation.
I have no answers for you. What about you, Stephany? Tell us a little bit.
Okay, I'm still trying to figure out how to work this too. My image is probably not showing. Is that correct? Am I
No,
showing?
it's just your name.
Oh,
If you go to the
right.
bottom and you see
Right.
your video and just turn it on.
Oh, okay. All right. I've got that going on. Then I've got the mute button here. Well, let me start to tell you about me because I've held up things long enough, and then I'll switch to my video. I started writing probably around 2013 or 14. And I wrote professionally, executive writing, contract writing, grant writing, like a lot of people do these days who are currently writing. I have done some technical writing, but in terms of my start, I really started writing because I couldn't find a job. I relocated to Atlanta. I'm originally from New York State, and I couldn't find a job. So I'm trying to figure out what to do. And my son said, why don't you just do what you do, write a book. Okay, I love to read. So anyway, I wrote my first book. It's called The Master's Plan, a novel. And that just set me off on a path of writing I call it inspirational, but I call it edgy inspirational, because where I get into trouble and because I cross genres so much is it's hard for me to target a certain reader audience. It's really a struggle for me. And that's what I'm dealing with now personally in terms of expanding my writing style, my writing. So as a result, I call myself an edgy, inspirational, cinematographic type writer. I tend to just really delve into heavy dialogue and characterization. So that's my focus. Just because of my background, typically there's some kind of inspirational story or message. And that's why I didn't want to target it Christian, because you can really get into trouble with people who define themselves as Christians. And then they see some of the stuff that I might be including in my book. Because my goal was to have a message for anybody who would be inclined to read about whatever my topic is, and my characters who always have some kind of situation they successfully confront and challenge. So that's basically the background. I've never written nonfiction. Actually, I did do some journalistic stuff also when I first got started. So that's the closest I've come to writing nonfiction, but I'm thinking of doing more in that area. And that's the other reason I'm thinking of the pen name.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right.
All right. So I know we do have a few people who are watching. And so I do want to make sure we get into that, our first 25-minute sprint.
Right.
But before we do, because I know we're going to have a couple of other breaks, I want to let one more author introduce herself. And then when we have our upcoming breaks, we'll get to know some of the other authors who are here with us today. So let's go with the person in the middle square, Lee.
Hello. So hi, everyone. And I'm so glad to be with this group of authors. This is actually quite amazing to have us all together on this journey and what we're doing. So my lighting, I hope my lighting is okay. Angela, as you know, coming on, it was all wonky, but we're going to make it work, right? So I'm Lee Mariano, but I also write as Reana Malori. And under the Reana Malori brand, I write steamy, contemporary, interracial romance. And I have about 38 books now. I actually counted them yesterday because I had to work on something. So I counted them. I have 38 books that have been published, varying lengths and such as that. And I started my writing journey in 2009 with my very first book, To Love a Marine. And it is actually still one of my absolute favorites. But, when I was first contacted about this effort, it was actually perfect timing because I was, I wear many hats. I wear many hats. Not only am I a romance author, but I'm also a life and success coach. And part of that journey has been connecting with women who are having challenges, particularly women of color who are having challenges getting up the leadership ladder, or self-confidence, or dealing with childhood trauma that they've been working through. And so when this came about, it was actually perfect timing because, and again, I'm going to write in my submission in this anthology is going to be under Lee Mariano, because that is actually the sweet spot for me as a coach, is working with women of color and understanding the challenges that they're going through in their life and their career, and honestly, the systemic racism that they have to deal with. So I'm very excited about this. I think this is a wonderful project, and I am so thankful and humble that you all invited me to participate. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to get started. I think it's great.
Awesome. Welcome. So for the people who are watching, I know I may not have introduced you to your favorite authoress yet, but hang tight and you will get to know her. I promise you. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to get into this first sprint. So I hope everybody, has their projects open. I hope everybody is ready to get into it. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to have a timer on the screen so our faces will minimize. So, because I know for some of my people, like, if people are going to be looking at us while we write, hey, I got lipstick on. Can y'all tell? But I was ready for my close-up. But for all of you guys who are out there, this is what we're going to do. The timer is going to be set for 25 minutes. And then when that timer ends, we're going to come back, and I'm going to introduce you to a few more authors. And then we're going to go back, and we're going to have a 15-minute sprint. Then we're going to come back, and I'm going to introduce you to a few more. And then we're going to go back and have a 10-minute sprint. And then we're going to close this party out. So I hope you guys will enjoy it. I hope that you stay with us, and let's get started. All right. Give me a second to share my screen. All right. And so when I share my screen, guys, I'm going to mute myself. So is everybody ready? All right. How was that for you ladies? All right.
Actually got something done.
Look, I was like, I probably had all of about 300 words. I didn't track my words, but it's okay. I was in there. I was in there. All right. So while we're taking this little bit of a break, let's catch up with a couple of more of the authors who are with us. So who do we have now? We have, how about we take Johnnie and Natalie, since you're in the center squares right now. All right. Johnnie, you want to go first? Turn your mic on. There we go.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Well, I'm Johnnie Williams. I'm an educator and a writer. I typically deal with poetry and fiction, and mostly I write for my personal self, and I usually deal with writing and teaching it to other people. That's how I deal with it. So I'm certainly excited to begin this endeavor first as a published person, and then of course in dealing with nonfiction, because I love to play with words, and so this will be a new genre for me to deal with. So I'm very excited.
All right. Now, it looks like we lost Delizhia. Maybe she'll be able to pop back on, but she was trying to straddle two worlds. So we'll see if she can come back on and join us. But Natalie, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, let me know if I break down, because my Zoom connection is notoriously awful when I do telework. So let me know, because it sounds fine on my end. So my author name is Indy Jones, and I typically write paranormal and urban fantasy romance. So Dariel invited me, and honestly, before I probably really knew about the context, I just said fine, because Dariel. And I trust her, I like her, I respect her. And so the fact that she invited me, she thought of me, that was actually enough. The icing on the cake was that it's actually something that I'm genuinely interested in. And we talk about in education. And she knows that I do professional development, in specifically dealing with like multicultural education, cultural proficiency, cultural intelligence. So this fits perfectly in line with my academic writing. So I never like published, let's say, outside of my dissertation, this level of nonfiction. But the topic appeals because it's something that I deal with all the time in the school system which I work. So when I just started writing, and I was thinking about titles before we started, I'm writing about, it's probably just some of my issues with the whole concept of this white liberalism and how it really plays out in the school system, and that you have these people who are supposed to be educated, but in so many ways they truly aren't, in their level of resistance to really learning about themselves in a way that will help the students they teach. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about as I'm framing my essay.
I gotta unmute my own self. You know, what's that? Yeah, that sounded pretty heavy. So is this in partnership with your dissertation, or is you've already done your dissertation?
I've completed my dissertation last year. My dissertation is on cultural intelligence, and I interviewed community college presidents of, well, California and Texas, but it's really those are two states that have like majority minority population. So, majority minority states. Now, we'll look and see how many more we have after 2020. I'm in Maryland, and as of the 2010 census, Maryland was very close to having of being a majority minority state. And so the question is, when you have these school systems, whether they're college systems or K through 12 systems, when you have a large number of students of color, but then you don't really have the equivalent or of teachers or administrators. And so that's very problematic. So that's kind of what I explored in my dissertation, but that's also somewhat what I want to discuss in my essay.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that with us, Natalie or ND. And Traci, you and I will go last. So we'll come back and tell everybody who we are when we have our next break. But for all those people who might be waiting for Traci and I, we're gonna be live. So hang around with us. So I think I probably did get about 300 words or so because I was so busy reading. What about you guys? Do you guys check your word count or watch your word count while you were doing it at all?
I did, and I actually got
looking, but I didn't
800
really track
words.
it.
What, Lee? You got 800 words?
Woo-woo.
You did?
Oh yeah.
No, that did not happen for me.
She's always doing stuff like that.
I know, right? That's why she's got 38 books out, and I got like what? I don't know, 15. What'd you do, Dariel? How many words did you get?
I didn't count mine yet. I figured I'd count mine at the end.
At the end, okay. Nothing wrong with that. All right. So we had us a little bit of a break. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Ready.
Let me set up our next one. Okay. Let me share my screen again. Put myself on mute.
Yeah, doing the spray. Oh, yeah.
All right. How'd you guys do? I wasn't ready that time. The alarm caught me. I was into it. I was into it that time. All right. Woo. Everybody back? Everybody back? All right. Traci, now that we are all back together, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Okay, so yes, my name is Traci Wooden-Carlisle. I am a Christian fiction author. I write sweet, wholesome Christian novels. I have participated in a few author groups with Stephany. And I think I've been writing since I was about 8. I stopped, in college, and then life transition, everything else got in the way. I ended up becoming a journalist for 6 years. It didn't feed my soul like writing novels did. And so I started writing to publish in 2009. And I found my niche. I love the messages I get to share, and I'm coming well.
We all muted. I'm trying to tell you, you're muted. You're not muted. Go ahead.
Was I? Oh. So I have we are a family. My family and I are, goodness, we call ourselves nuts. We're mixed with everything, and we come from all different walks and all different parts of our country. So, but what I denote from all of the children in my generation is that the generation, like our grandparents, not our immediate next generation, but the one before that, they were very hesitant to talk about our history. And so we found ways around it, and because we were just inquisitive, and we were the second set to go to college, the second generation to go to college, but I noticed that we tended to go to like social studies and African-American studies, things like that. And so my perspective for this project would be part of my childhood not being able to identify what racism looked like, because I grew up in an area that specifically kind of sheltered against it, and you don't really leave out of that neighborhood. But then also searching to find out, why other people's stories were so different from mine, and getting to know my history and my past, and coming to understand and be able to identify what racism looked like, especially when I experienced it for the first time. So it's a little bit of my past and why I'm here and why I'm writing in this anthology.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing with us. I feel like, am I the only one from what I would call the Deep South? Because I'm from Tennessee.
No,
I'm the only
I'm
one.
from Alabama.
Oh, well, I forgot.
Alabama.
Yeah. We see each other there. We see each other. But, when Dariel asked me to be a part of this, I was like, oh, we're writing only how many words? Because, your girl got stories. I got stories for you. Yeah. But, it's, for me personally, think my story is probably a little different from some of you guys. I feel like I may be a blend of some of you though, but you know, I'm that person who, and I was telling this, I think I was telling this to Lee the other day, but I'm that person who in undergrad, I attended an HBCU and I was a member of, you know, if I were old enough, I would have been a member of the Black Panthers, but I was slightly too young. So I was a member of the other groups. I'm that chick who was protesting at everything all the time. And, you know, in my home, I had a picture of Lil Rosie. I had a picture of Angela Davis, you know, on my walls and stuff like that. So I'm that chick, right? And, you know, so it was, so when Dariel reached out and told me about this, I was like, it's going to be interesting for me because I've never done any of this in a nonfiction environment. You know, I take like all of us as writers who do fiction, you know, you take all these things that you hear, see, know, and you craft it into something that's fiction. But so it's going to be really interesting for me because I feel like it's, of course, it's more personal because I think it was Stephany who said, you know, it's like more of a memoir or whatever your storytelling type is like when it's nonfiction. But it's going to be interesting for me because as soon as Dariel said it, I had like 2 or 3 things because I'm that woman who's on that straddle. Like I didn't integrate schools, but the schools I attended needed integration. You know, so I'm the chick who's on that cusp of it all. So there are just like so many things that I thought about, and you know, and when you talk about as Dariel shared with me, when you talk about John Lewis in Good Trouble, you know, that was me. I was all about it. So, you know, let's get into some good trouble, Dariel and Stephany. You know, Johnny, Natalie, Tracy, Delizhia, when you come back, Lee, we all get into a little good trouble together. All right. So how'd you guys do with your word count this time? I think I'm not up there with Lee. I ain't there yet. No. But how'd you
trying to get there?
You know, I'm just trying to keep up. You know, I'm trying
exactly.
I got 562.
What? In 15 minutes?
You got a free flow. You got a free write. You just got to let the words come. You got to just let it out.
Just let it out. I'm going to let it out already.
You just got to let it out.
562 words in 15 minutes.
No.
All right, what about the rest of you guys? I know you're not counting yet, Dariel, but anybody else want to share?
Wow. This last one, I got 200. The one before, I got 5, and I was feeling really good about that.
Good, yeah.
That is good.
Ooh, Lee.
That is good.
Boy, Lee.
Lee is doing it. I know a few people who are watching. Yeah. Is anybody sprinting with us who's watching? I know Laura's watching. What are you, how many words did you get, Laura? Are you writing? Laura, are you writing or you just watching? I don't know what Laura's doing. She just sent something in the chat that says she loves it. We gonna send Laura a quick thanks for watching. I'm multitasking. You guys, I got all my multimedia tools open right now. All my multimedia tools.
I'm just seeing the chat.
Look, Dariel, I'm using all of my radio, TV, film skills. I'm using all of them. I'm trying to see what I can get done.
I don't know how you do it.
You are a broadcast woman. A broadcast woman.
Radio, TV, film. Don't put your girl in front of a camera or a microphone.
Right.
For you.
I come to life, darling. I come to life. All right. So we're going to get ready to do our last sprint.
Okay.
It's going to be 10 minutes. And then after that sprint, for everybody who's watching, everybody, you know, who's here with us, after that sprint, then we're just gonna, did Laura just say she just opened her laptop? She just broke my whole thing. How's she watching a sprint? We've been sprinting for 74 minutes and she just opened her laptop. What is really happening? But after we do that 10-minute sprint, guys, we're just gonna come back and we're gonna close out. And Stephany, Dariel, if you guys wanna tell anybody anything about like expectations for what's next with Soul Deep, you know, or, you know, and we'll make sure we give everybody all of our social media so that anybody who's watching this now or who comes back and watches later, they know how to get in touch with us. All right. So we all ready? I'm going to set up our next sprint. Okay. right. There we go, ladies. Yay! We have completed our first live writing sprint. Let's do it. How do you ladies feel? Oh, I can't hear you, Stephany.
Good.
Good? All right. I'm thankful because, you know, your girl could have had all kinds of technical difficulties.
Yes.
You know, so thank you. I'm so glad you guys joined me. This is my very first YouTube live. So excited that we did this together and for such, you know, what I personally think is such an awesome thing. I'm so happy, Stephany and Dariel, that you guys invited me to be a part of this. It was so cool to get to meet you guys. Johnnie, Traci, ND, it's so awesome to get to meet you and know you and just see who's going to be a part of this, you know, journey with me, you know. So Dariel and Stephany, before we get everybody's social media, can you tell the people watching anything about when to expect the release or anything like that, or, you know, when they can start to see or expect to see cover art or anything?
Dariel, are you still on?
I'm still here.
You want to take the lead with that part?
Okay. I guess the main date to keep in mind is release date is June 15th. We want to release it in celebration of Juneteenth, 2021.
I like that.
Yeah.
You know, like I say, y'all know I'm the HBCU girl. You mentioned the words Juneteenth. I'm in there like,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right?
Now it will be available for pre-order in May. So I'll have to check that date, but it'll be in May, about a month ahead of that release date.
Okay.
So, yeah. So as far as the authors, what we'll be working on next is getting our blurbs or descriptions in place first, because we'll need those. That'll help us to formulate an inclusive description for the anthology itself.
Does everyone have their title? I'm sorry, Dariel. We talk by phone sometimes, and this is I'm sorry for interjecting, but Traci, you've talked with me too, so you know. Does everyone have their titles yet? Just out of curiosity. Does anyone have their title? No?
I have a title. Let me see what it is. I forgot. I do have a title. Okay, the name of my title is Sand in the Storm.
Oh, well, now I like that.
Of course, now that might change at any time because I do that.
That's true.
But I like to have a working title. And, you know.
I gotta level up my game. Give me a title that's all like memorable.
I'm sure it will be. I'm sure, based on what everybody said and the differences of experiences, I just find that so exciting. And
oh yeah,
one of the things I thought of is that I think it would be good if at some point, and we've got our producer expert here, that maybe we should talk a little bit more about our backgrounds and our different and how we see ourselves and how we've developed and how they could be different. I think it might help us to be able to maybe even think about things a little differently when we learn more about some of what each of you may have experienced and just think about it, especially since I guess it was Traci, I might need to talk to you. Because I do feel I have a different, and I've shared a little bit with Dariel. I just, because my family is so eclectic, and I don't want to dwell, go specifically through everything, but I just feel that I know that my background was very different, and I grew up in New York State, and I grew up in a very diverse community, and my parents brought such a strength, but even though they had some tough backgrounds. They were really, but I know they're tough, just like we're tough. We are a tough group of people as a culture and a nation. I don't need to say that. So it just made me think about their strength. That's something I've honed on a lot, my parents' strength, which I think they brought to me. But I would love maybe at some point, Dariel and Angela or anybody else who might want to pull something together like that for us in some form.
Maybe we could just do a Zoom meeting, maybe not show everybody right then, but do a Zoom meeting with just us and
Yes.
and talk about that so we can have one of those real discussions like that.
That would be nice.
Right, and build around each other, encourage each other, and maybe support, and maybe even just in terms of asking questions, understanding even our differences would help.
Right.
Yeah, I'm excited. I really am.
I like it. Yeah. I'm super excited. It's like I said, Dariel, you'll be able to understand that. But when you're in the Deep South, and it's just, like I said, so many stories that came to mind. But, but there was just one, I remember my mom walking me through a grocery store or a mall here in the area, in the community where we used to live. And you guys, for people in the North, I don't know if this is a real issue, but, you had the colored door, and the colored water fountains. And I just remember, just as a child, my mom taking me to a place, and pointing out to me where the colored door had been walled up, and where the colored water fountain was now a water fountain for everybody, And so, I mean, it's just, there's so many stories that I think, they just end up lending to the fabric of all that we are, all that, we are as, Black Americans, or however people identify, African American, Black American, but all of the things that go into that fabric and make us up, and like our boy said, a little good trouble ain't never hurt nobody. So I'm looking forward to it.
Knows where it's going to take us with this one. Oh no, I'm just kidding.
Might be hard on your body, but it's good for your soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
It might be hard on your body. You might be right.
Yeah.
So I put a thing in the chat. I wanted to see if anybody wanted to share their word count. I haven't seen, nobody's popped anything in there.
Oh, what?
But does anybody want to do some last minute word counts before we sign off? I mean, Lee, did you get 2,000 words in 10 minutes?
No, I got my final word count is 1732.
Oh my God. Girl, you need to teach a class.
All together?
Or you need to teach a speed writing class.
What is that? No, man. No.
Yeah.
Who else wants to share? I did not get close to that.
Okay, well, no, well, I'm not going to be embarrassed. This is just the way that I am. I know I read all this stuff and look at all these videos. I'm telling you to teach a class, but I'm sure you're going to tell me probably the same thing I've already heard, and that is, don't correct as you write.
Yes.
But I cannot help it. I just have to do it. I hate to have to go back through and find these crazy things that I wrote. So So anyway, 756.
That's good.
So.
Anybody else?
Actually, that's not too bad.
That's what we're going to take that win.
I've done a lot worse.
Words on paper. Words on
But this time,
paper.
I've got so much to say for this, so it's for me right now, it's a matter of deciding which parts to include, which parts are most important to include. And because there's just so much, and really 10,000 words is not a lot.
Yeah. It goes so fast. It comes so quick.
Did we say 10,000? Dario, did we say 10,000?
Well, yeah, we said 7,500 to 10,000.
Oh. Yeah, so I did around, I say around because I'm a slow writer, I'm a pantser, and I do think and correct as I go through. I didn't do much correction, but I did a lot of thoughts as opposed to key points that I want to cover, and that would take me off in certain directions. So mine is like more like a page of notes and key categories of information. Some sentences and that kind of thing, but a lot of it is that. So it's a little over 911.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I thought she was going to
all of that counts. All of those words count.
I thought she was going to be like, yeah, I got one word. I mean, it's like 900. Okay, all right.
Taking that win.
And that's a huge win. Anybody else?
That is good. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I got to 900, so I'm really happy about
That is, yeah.
that. I didn't really where I was going, but I did find my rhythm, and I'm always interjecting some type of humor. So I was waiting to see if that was going to show up. And when it did, I was like, oh, this works for me. Because I laugh at myself often. And so that's my voice. That is Traci. I have so much fun with myself.
I cannot write humor. So I'm going to give you some kudos for that. Every time I've tried to put a joke on paper, when I go back and I read it, I'm like, oh, that's I'm like, how does David Chappelle do this? And I just take the whole thing out. I'm like, that does not work for me. But when I write it, I think it's the best thing ever. I go back and that's just total crap, and I'm not gonna put that out there like that. And I can't do it. Johnnie, you want to share? You or ND want to share before we?
I was fine. I did about 560.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
That's good. That's good.
Any words on paper is a win. That's what
Exactly.
I say.
That's
my
true.
writer's block. Any words on paper is a good thing.
For me, especially, because I will hit that wall, and I'll be staring at it real hard for a long time. So, yeah. What about you, ND? You want to share?
Yeah, I only did about 5 something myself. I as I write, and I sit a long time think of one sentence. And so I am really slow. I agonize over one thing or trying to remember. So I have the big idea of what I want to write, but I don't know all the nuanced things of what I want to say or the order in which I want to say them. So yeah, we'll see what actually comes out.
There's nothing wrong with that. I have a friend who I'm very linear. I can't jump around in my writing and stuff. So if the story starts here, I have to write up that. But I have a friend, she can jump all around. And
me too.
Yes, that's the way I am. I'm the opposite. I jump around all the time.
How do you do that? And
I can't do that.
I can't do that.
Mm-mm. Exactly. I can't do that. It drives me crazy.
It's a big hole. I won't be consistent in my story. I'm gonna, in 1 minute you're gonna have a blue truck, the next minute it's gonna be paint. You know what I mean? The whole story is gonna be not solid at all.
That happens. That's why I have to go back and edit some more.
Right?
It was blue. It was not red. Yeah.
So before we get ready to sign off, guys, let's let everybody know how to contact you via social media. We're going to start with Lee, because you're in my top left corner, and we're just going to go all zigzag around. So Lee, tell us how to contact you.
Perfect. So you can contact me under Lee Mariano. That account is Alexadom Coaching on Facebook, Alexadom Coach on IG. Those are the 2 main platforms. If you want to contact me under Reana Malori, my romance author name, you can search for Reana Malori on IG, Facebook, wherever you're at on social media, and I'm there. And I would love to hear from anyone and everyone about either Soul Deep Anthology and what we're doing with that journey, or the Reana Malori focus as well.
Stephany, how do we contact you on social media?
For the time being, Stephany Tullis. It's on all of my media. Stephany Tullis, Tullis. That's my website, Facebook, BookBub. My email, Stephany Tullis Stephany@gmail. And I'd love to hear from anyone. I've got some new initiatives. I may need to talk to you, Angela, about some stuff I want to be doing. So thank you again, too, for today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Traci, how do we find you on social media?
Well, I am Traci Wooden-Carlisle, Facebook, Traci Wooden-Carlisle. Also, all my initials, so TAWCarlisle.com. That's how you find my author page. And if you want to email me, TAWCarlisle@gmail.
All right, awesome. Johnnie, how do we find you?
Real simple, Facebook, Johnnie Williams. You'll find me pretty quickly.
Okay. Dariel, how about you? How do we find you?
The best way to find me everywhere is darielraye.com.
Right.
And all the other information is there.
And I'm sure half the world is on Dariel's newsletter anyway. She's got like 1 million people on her newsletter. So who doesn't know how to find Dariel? What about you, Indy? How do we find you?
My website is Indy Jones Paranormal Pleasure. On Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, I'm Indy Jones Author.
All right. All right, guys. So I know we have a few
Thank you.
people watching. So whether you are watching us live or whether you catch this in replay, I just want to say thank you. It was my first one. I didn't hang up on you. I didn't hang up on them. I can see myself, so it's all good, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
Fun.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Everybody, YouTube World, Podcast Land.
Good seeing everybody.
Somewhere. So thank you all so much.
Thanks.
All right.